Welcome to this week's edition of the Business of Real Estate podcast with Lynn, Hoffmann, and Eric Johnson. Today, we're speaking to Rebecca Mountain, founder of the Mountain Method and also founder of the 100 Days to Peak Performance. If you're an agent that knows what you should be doing, but you just don't do it and you don't know why, then Rebecca's the person you need to be speaking to. So let's welcome Rebecca Mountain. Welcome.
Good morning.
Thank you for having me. I'm really excited to be here.
So before we get into everything that you do coaching-wise, et cetera, how about giving us a little bit of especially our viewers, a little bit of a background of where you came from?
How far back do you want to go?
Because you've been involved in real estate for quite a while now.
Yes. So I have been in and around real estate for 17 years. So I started many moons ago doing social media stuff, which was great for a while because I started when it was still brand new. And so I ran an agency, and then what I realized was, while the marketing piece was an important piece, I was delivering hundreds of leads to my clients, every week, and no one would pick up the phone. And I'm like, and then they would fire me for not making sales. And I'm like, I don't make what are you talking about? Anyway, and so this was such a pervasive problem that going on 6 years ago now, almost 7, I got certified as a high performance coach because I wanted to solve the problem of people know what to do, but they aren't doing it. And that whole idea wasn't really the whole impetus behind why I went into performance coaching. I didn't want to do strategic coaching. I didn't want to do marketing coaching anymore. If I never built a Facebook page ever again, I would be exceptionally happy. I think I have PTSD from my time there. Anyway, but I wanted to look at the whole entity of someone's business and say, I don't need to know what you do, but I need to be understanding how you do it and how you can do it better. So what is it about the way that you're going about your life? And it started out as habits, and it's morphed into something much, much bigger now. And now I am obsessed with this question of why don't people do the work they know they should be doing? So there's knowing what to do, and there's doing it, and then there's this big why in the middle, and it's different for everybody. So I've written 3 books about it. I'm writing my 4th book. I never write them here. I always go away. So I was supposed to go to Jamaica and then hurricane. So now I'm going to Dominican, and I'm going to sit there for 5 days in a beautiful place and write out all about the actual methodology that I created that solves for each individual the question of why between knowing and doing.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And I know only because I got certified, so I am teaching your program now. But it's very interesting. I found the program, well, number one, found out that you and I read a lot of the same books and have been part of the same programs, and so I understood a lot of it. But the emotional part, I think that was the thing that surprised me the most, was the key on the emotions that get triggered for people when they need to do something, and whether it's fear, sadness, or there's something that's triggering their emotions when it comes to those actions. And I think that's something that I've yet to see in any other program, which is why I liked this program so much. Is you want to explain a little bit more about that emotional side of it?
Yeah. The emotion side it's funny because I do keynote speaking, and my latest keynote is the title of my new book, and it's all about this methodology called Knowing Isn't Enough. And everyone gets very excited about the concept. I say emotions, honest to God, at least 2 people leave, and I hear 3 or 4 people in the audience going we're out, because people don't want to think that emotions are something they need to deal with, because we don't really know how. So the emotional piece is not so much that you need to go to therapy, you need to kind of figure it out and delve into your background. I mean, sure, it takes a village, and I always encourage that. But what it is about emotions is emotions create filters. And we see the world through our filters. So if we feel fear, we have a filter of fear, which means when we look through it, we see all the things that are going to scare us half to death. We see a market that is going down. We see clients that don't want to make a decision. We see buyers that are ridiculous. We see sellers that are irresponsible with the pricing expectations of their homes. We see all the things through that filter, and so it creates distortions and perceptions are everything. Perceptions drive what we do, because if you have a filter, so imagine it's like VR. So imagine you put on your VR glasses, and these are all the things that you feel. So whether it's fear or it's anxiety, it could also be things like curiosity and creativity. There's no such thing as bad or good emotions. There's emotions that are too big and distorting, which create the really hard filters to see through, or they're small and manageable and they're actually useful. And that's where people need to get to. So, so if you look through a filter of, doom and gloom, or I don't deserve this, or this is going to be hard, or I can't do this, all you're going to see is the proof of that thing. If, however, you challenge that distortion, you'd be like, okay, fear, thanks, I see you, but like, you got to knock it down a notch, and you clear the filter. Now you see opportunity, you see a market that, sure, it's doing what it's going to do. Markets always do what they go up and down. But the question now that you are able to generate for yourself is not, oh, how am I going to do this? It's, I know what to do. Because I firmly believe, as human beings, especially in real estate, because of all the training and all the mentorship and all the other kind of real estate experts and gurus and coaching that you have, which is phenomenal, everyone knows what to do. This is not the problem. That's why I didn't teach myself real estate. I don't need to. There are brilliant coaches out there, and everyone should engage them. But 93% of people never do anything with the training that they get. And that is the number I'm trying to fix. So what I like to do, so the 100 days sort of moniker you see everywhere. So we've got Buffini with his 100 Days to Greatness, which is a phenomenal course. We have 100-day challenges in the medical industry. We have 100 days everywhere. Everywhere in the world, there's always the 100 days. And it's for a reason. But before I get into the reason of the 100 days, what I have done is to say, let people take all this latent knowledge that they have, understand the why between them and doing, and not build a bridge, because that means the gap is still there. But I want to close that gap as if it never existed, so that people can just seamlessly keep going. You have an idea, you just go and do it. Even if it doesn't work, you try it. Like, I want the world to feel like I want to never have to work on weekends.
Yeah.
I proposed that, and I did it last week when I was doing a talk somewhere else. And honestly, half of the people went, like, they actually made that noise.
Yeah.
Because they're like, how are you going to do that? And that's the mentality. How are you going to do that? Not, I'm going to make that happen. What do I need to do to make that happen?
And it's interesting. I remember people I met in real estate, like back in 2012, were not working weekends, and everybody else like, what? How did they do that? But I think it's also interesting because, Lynn, you and I do a lot of coaching and teaching here at the brokerage, and we both know that we'll see the same people, like if it's a one-day class or 2-hour class, they come in and they go, oh my God, great information. But then they're back at the next one and the next one after that and the one after that, because they don't take it in. And so there is something, as we're both Buffini mentors as well, is that there is something for that long term. Correct?
Well, I actually think Rebecca's nailed it. I mean, you've really hit the nail there. Education without implementation is purely entertainment. They come for the entertainment. They go and they do nothing.
I've been teaching Buffini, and I know that's his phrase every class. I was like, oh my God, here it comes.
but isn't it
it's true. Oh, it's so true.
And the other big one that I just wrote down, false evidence appears real. Fear.
Oh, 100%.
So you just said it. I've been saying this for 20 years now, but they look at it through that filter of fear. And they also wrote some other words down, and you can tell me if they come up in your thing.
Sure.
Self-confidence.
Yep.
Self-destructive tendencies. I'm not worth that. I'm not good enough to achieve that. And somehow they manage to succeed at that mission. That's really interesting for me because you've taken it to another step. You've got a little bit more involved in the mindset.
Yep.
And that's a commonly used word right now, but I've been saying that for a long time too. It is all about what's up here.
Yeah.
If you see it And you can do it in your mind, you can do it in real life. But how do we get it to stay in here?
And that's the emotional piece that
Right.
Eric was talking about,
Yes.
because most people go to, I'm going to think positive.
Yes.
And there's a great book by Bill O'Hanlon called Do One Thing Different, which is phenomenal.
Yes.
And he says, thinking positive is the equivalent of holding a piece of poo and spraying it with glitter. It still
thinking it's
stinks.
going
And
to
think it's going to
improve.
be like, oh, look, it's so much better now. No, it's gross. Ew, put it down. Disgusting. What the problem with just using your thoughts but not adding the emotional component is you stay at knowing. You try to only engage the thinking part of your brain. We have 3 brains. We have an emotion brain, which is evolutionarily the oldest part of us. If you prefer the creationist way of looking at it, built it first and it kicks off first. So however you want to believe, because beliefs often come into this, like spiritual beliefs come into how people will process the idea of the brain. But there's the emotion brain, and it doesn't think. It just acts. It just blows
Reacts.
stuff into our system. It creates the physical manifestations of what we are feeling, and thoughts come next. Now, I teach a way for you to use your thoughts to generate the emotions you need. But if you don't understand how emotions work at the beginning, then that whole methodology won't work. The strategy won't work. And so there's a very simple formula that, if you follow it, will lead very, very quickly to you doing everything you need to do. Now, I provide frameworks because people get stuck, but it's what you feel and what you think becomes what you do. So if you're not doing what you should be doing, what are you thinking? So what are the automatic thoughts? I can't do that. The market is slow, so there goes my business, and so on and so forth. But the other piece that people always miss out is, but what do I feel about this? And there's this cool thing that I torture all of my clients with called the feeling wheel. You knew it was coming. Because he's like, yep.
Good old emotion wheel.
Good old emotion wheel. But all it does is give complex emotional language. Because one of the ways of actually engaging the emotion and thinking brains to work together is to simply declare, what are you actually feeling? So for the very simplest strategy is, any point in time in the day, for no reason whatsoever, grab out your wheel. So it's just a bunch of, it's got some core emotions, and then it's a little bit more specific and more specific again. That's why it's called a wheel. And you just go through that wheel and you mark down what's going on in my body, what's going on in my mind right now, and you just write that down. Just doing that generates emotional regulation. So in the 100 Days program that I have, I also teach what's called the RAIN framework, which is very commonly used in psychology. It allows you to it's recognize, okay, something's going on. I'm afraid.
Yep.
I'm going into a listing presentation and I'm scared. Right? Maybe I'm new to this, or maybe I'm trying something different, or maybe I have a new presentation, or maybe
Or I hope
just
they don't ask this question.
and I hope I, don't not know the answer, right? So I have people who will only go after first-time home buyers, even though they've been in real estate for 15 years, because they're afraid someone with experience is going to ask them a question that they can't answer.
That's crazy.
And so, anyway, but if you can just identify, okay, I recognize, okay, I'm freaked out right now. A is accept and acknowledge, and it's like, because I'm supposed to be. And most people, how many times have you ever heard someone say, don't worry, don't be sad, don't be stressed? That is so invalidating. All that does is take the opportunity to accept the fact that you're in a situation and it's supposed to be scary and make you feel like you're not supposed to feel that. So that just creates a whole other problem. I is investigating, where does this come from, right? So maybe this feels like when you were in grade 4 and had to make a speech in school and you peed your pants in front of the class, right? And you're like, oh my gosh, it's going to happen again. You never know. And then N is the nurture piece, which is just like, okay, just take a minute and just breathe, and it's nurture, right? So it's okay. You're going to be able to do this. And usually mantras come out from there. It's like, I trust myself. This is going to work. Or you picture yourself, and this is one of my favorite things to do, and it's really, really great, especially right before you go to bed, but you picture, say you're going into a listing presentation, you picture yourself done.
Yeah.
And you picture shaking hands.
Success.
You picture like they've signed it, you're excited,
That's
you've
right.
got goosebumps. Like I've got goosebumps just talking about this, thinking about it. And when you do that, you train your brain to lower all the filters. Because where the filters go up is what if
Yep.
they ask me a question? What if, I stumble on my words? What if I forget the word helicopter, like for whatever reason, which I did one day. And so when what if, your filters not only go higher and higher, they get thicker and thicker.
Yeah.
So by the time you go into, you're a bit of a bumbling idiot.
Yep.
Versus take literally 1 minute, recognize what's going on, accept it's okay, investigate, okay, yep, I've felt this way before, and nurture. Just give yourself some space to be able to say, okay, I trust myself, this is going to be good, and envision that celebration at the end. That is the magical piece.
That is the magic piece.
Yeah, because that's the piece, but you can't get to the lowering of the filters until you do the first three.
Right.
So, and that's where a lot of people, when they ask me to speak, they're like, Rebecca, what have you got on mindset? And I'm like, well, I have approximately 1/3 of a methodology on mindset, but you can't do that. And mindset is something that is very static.
Yeah.
This is like, what's your mindset? Which is kind of like the DISC profile or Myers-Briggs. This is a snapshot in time. This is you today, but you take DISC profile 7 days from now, you might get a different read depending on what happened to you and what your emotions were when you took it, right? And so, the way I look at mindset in the scheme of my methodologies, I don't call it that. I call it aligned beliefs. So, because aligned beliefs means you're pointing at something, which means you're kind of setting yourself in a direction of what makes you happy, what brings you joy, the fulfillment that you want in your work, in the people, in the environment, right? Everything. And then building boundaries around that, but also having that strong emotional and mental acuity to not create misperceptions, to lower the filters. So if you lower the filters, you stop talking to yourself in such a mean way. Like I had one of my therapists said to me, because I'm brilliant, we're all really good at talking to ourselves, like really cruel. I challenge anyone to say out loud what they say to themselves and say it to another person. It's mean. They are not going to appreciate it. So
Careful what you say.
exactly
when you talk
to yourself. And someone said something to me this morning that the people who never get sick and who are the most successful talk to themselves out loud. Because if you hear yourself saying something out loud, it either sounds really self-affirming or like, oh, that's kind of it's kind of cruel. But the way to stop that process and to say, well, like what's a kind of a strategy? Because I'm all about frameworks.
Yeah.
What can someone use anywhere to stop talking to themselves so meanly? Imagine whatever situation of which you are self-critical, and imagine that your child did it. Like your child is going, what would you say to your child? Like if my son went through, he's going to find a job right now. He's in his last year of engineering school, and let's say he's, talking to himself like, oh, Mom, like no one's going to want me, and, maybe I'm not smart enough. What would I say to him? I'd be like, you know what, bud? You've worked really hard. Your grades are one thing, but crazy work ethic. You've went through engineering, so on, so on, so on. That's how I need to talk to myself.
Yeah.
Right? So if I'm looking at the 100 Days to Peak Performance program, I'm looking to bring it out into the world. I have this crazy ambitious goal to get as many people to see this as possible. I can't afford to tell myself that nobody wants to hear about it, that everyone's going to confuse it with Buffini's really amazing program. It's been around for 20 years. And I did consider that, right? I'm like, is that going to be a problem? But I chose to go ahead with it because I needed people to know that it's not like a 3-hour class. Because you can't achieve the kind of changes that need to be achieved in 3 hours or in 5 consecutive days. So when you put all that together, it's the aligned beliefs. And so I'm just going to give you sort of the overarching structure of the mountain method, which I've created, which, by the way, I know it's my last name, which is super handy. Thank you, ex-husband. For the name. It's been great. But it's actually predicated on the idea that we climb mountains all of our lives. So we ride a bike, we get our first job, we have a kid, we, decide to make a change. So there's all these quote unquote mountains. As a child, we are fearless. It's not like, we're learning how to walk. We stumble and fall and we're like, well, I guess walking's not for me. Like, no. That sounds ridiculous. But as we get older, we lose that youthful ambition and desire, and we start turning. So we get halfway up the proverbial mountain, whether it's I would like to make more money, I want to create a team, and we find an excuse and it makes us turn, right? I don't have time. I don't have money. I don't have the energy. I have kids. I hate it when people use kids as an excuse for not doing something. I have 4, and you can do amazing things and inspire your children. But for whatever reason, people bring out these excuses, make it sound legit, make it sound cute, like, oh, I'm just a control freak. No, you're afraid of leadership.
Yeah. They give themselves permission to fail.
Bingo.
That's my thing. I
Yeah.
mean, they go along for so long and then they hit this brick wall. And then all of a sudden, it's the market's fault, it's the kid's fault, it's the husband's fault,
Yep.
it's somebody else's fault. And it's not. But
Yep.
they give themselves permission to fail. And like you said, they put this filter across and they look at everything from that negative point of view.
Yep.
I tell people when they do the, win the day methodology or win the week, they don't have to get everything done. Look at what you did do instead of what you didn't do.
Yeah.
And if you look at what you did do, then that gives you more encouragement to keep going on days where it's tougher. But I like your aligned belief.
Yep. So that's the
Well,
first pillar. It's
We
called
all
aligned
climb mountains
beliefs.
every day.
Yep. So aligned
Fearless.
beliefs.
I don't know where that leaves us because when we're kids, kids are the best negotiators. They,
Oh, yeah.
they do everything and they don't care. They just keep on going.
I see.
Where'd that go?
I
Where'd
know
we
where
lose that piece?
we lost it because most people, and if you listen to Tony Robbins long enough, he talks about people will do so much more to avoid pain than seek out pleasure. But you think about growing up, much like you said, what do you say to your kid when they're talking negatively to themselves? Well, the simple fact is that growing up, your parents always told you, don't do that, don't do that. Instead of telling you what you did right, they're telling you what you did wrong.
Yep.
And so we always wanted our parents' respect, or we want them to love us, so we got to try not to do anything wrong or bad. And I think that's the whole thing, is that we are trying to avoid that pain. And it's interesting because when you were talking, a number of things ran through my mind, as they usually do. But one of them was, one of the things I learned in my first sales job was the customer's perception is reality. And so it didn't matter. Like, I remember I told this client, this customer, certain things, but they weren't listening. And they perceived it to be something different. And I think part of the thing is in sales is we are saying certain things. And much like you would know this, and Lynn, you know this as well, there's a difference between coaching and teaching. Teaching, I'm just saying things to you. Coaching, I'm getting you to say the answers back. But in most people in sales, they're just spouting off facts. And what they aren't paying attention to is what's going on in that client's head. Because they're thinking, they've got other thoughts going on, right? And so then I'm saying, you mentioned price. So I'm talking about this market, and they're just thinking, I got to get the most money possible. They're not really jiving.
Nope.
And so to me, that is key, is that perception is, their perception is reality. And so we got to tap into that. And we can't be afraid. And it goes back to that thing of not wanting to be wrong or told, no, that's not right. But we're afraid to ask certain questions. We don't want to hear no. Because my mom told me no all the time, and I didn't like it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I won't ask that question because they might say no, and then I'll cry and
Yeah.
I'll be upset.
You'll feel shame.
Yeah.
Shame is something.
It's a real thing.
It's a very powerful
Huge.
emotion, and as human beings, we don't want it. We get rid of it as fast as we possibly can. That's why we blame the market.
That's right.
That's why we blame someone
That's
else.
right.
Well, Lynn didn't tell me.
Yeah.
Right? Like, what? Like, in the grand scheme of it, that makes no sense.
Yeah.
Absolutely no sense.
No, I know.
And when you're talking about like customers and perceptions, everything, where does perception come from? Emotion.
Emotions.
Emotion.
So if you don't understand emotion, you can't even help yourself in a listing presentation
No.
because 95% of decisions are made on emotion.
And you said another big thing there, listening. Agents don't listen. And they don't listen for the emotion. They don't try to find out what the emotional thing is going on between the two people that they might be working with, or the couple or whatever. They're not listening to what those people are really saying. They have this pre-scripted idea in their brain about what they want to convey. And this other stuff is just getting in their way. It's just not falling in their pattern.
Right.
And they stop listening.
And it reminds me of Chris Voss, Never Split the
Yeah.
Difference,
Never
the
Split the
FBI negotiator in his book. And he talked about, he called his company Black Swan because he goes, in every negotiation, there's this black swan, and your job is to find out what that is.
Yep.
And in sales, your job is to find out what that black swan is that's holding them back.
That's right.
Yep.
That keeps them from taking action. And once we can do that, then we can move forward. But yeah, no, it's so interesting.
It's very interesting, and it's a lot more emotional. And there's a lot more to it than just sitting down and pitching
Yeah.
a sales presentation in front of two people.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's so much more.
Yeah, and
There's
I
all
could
the
have-
baggage you come with as a salesperson about what you can do, and then listening to those folks and what their journey is and what they need from you, and making sure you hear it right.
And not be afraid of the no, which I always like to say
Never.
is just short for not yet.
It's maybe. No, it's maybe.
Yeah,
No,
exactly.
it's maybe, and try harder.
You and I are the same.
We're the same.
Exactly. Oh, okay.
Right.
Come at it from another angle.
Yeah,
You
get
know,
a bigger
tell
net,
me
take a
more.
wider swath.
I'm going to ask a better question. Let's see how we can get past this kind of a thing.
But
Yeah.
if you listen to some of the best journalists in the world, they ask a question, they get shot down. They ask the same question in a different package until they get the answers that they need.
Right.
That's what salespeople should be doing. They
That's
should
right.
be looking not only to themselves for those questions, but to the people they're talking to. But I think if they understand themselves better, they'll do a better job of asking the other people what they're
Which is
doing.
really what this is about. Understand yourself at a
And
deep
then
level. Like
seek
not
to
just like,
understand and then be understood.
Right, exactly.
And I think, one of the issues is you look at a lot of the sales techniques that came out, especially in the 80s, 70s, 80s, and into the 90s, was how to get to a yes. And always get them to say little yeses.
Yes.
And I did Sandler sales system, and that was about getting to a no, getting people to say no. And the reason being was that we knew we could only work with, say, 1 out of every 100 people. So I need to get 99 no's. So I'm going to drive them to a no. So the idea was, and I worked with a company where it was funny. I say this story all the time is our bosses would come out with us once in a while. Experienced salespeople, new sales, didn't matter. And the boss came out and I was like, we would push and just drive, but get down and ask a lot of questions. And we came out of that meeting, she goes, how'd you do that? Like, I've never seen anybody open up so much. And I said, it was just like, this is the methodology. So we had everybody in there, but the whole idea was we were a company that wanted loyal customers. And if you were not going to be a loyal customer, we didn't want to deal with you. Because why would we waste all the time, money, and effort for you to walk away? So that was the whole thing, was drive them to a no. I need to find out really quickly whether you're the type of person we want to work with or not. So to me, that was interesting. And then there was a story of a father that every day his kids would come home and he'd ask what they failed at. And so, if we did that, and so we made sure that our children were not afraid to fail, that they would try and go out and do things. It's a different mindset, going back to the
Totally.
mindset.
Yep.
And so, but I know we're getting, I don't want to, we could go on forever and ever, but
We could.
I do want to switch a little bit to, so the emotions are the big part and acknowledging and what's holding you back.
Yep.
But let's talk about the performance habits and
Yeah.
creating the new habits, because you have a lot of good things, like whether it's stacking or different ways to induce a new habit. Because I think that's a difficult thing for a lot of people. So
It is.
Walk us through a little bit some of the strategies that agents can use to start creating new habits.
Sure. If I might do a slight redirect for before
sure.
we get to the habits, the middle part of the methodology is taking decisive action. So before you can get into the habits, you need to know what are you wrapping habits around. So the taking decisive action, it starts off with like, can you describe your ideal client in like crazy detail? Color of their eyes, where they come from, how many languages they speak, what are their aspirations? So not because you want to create a niche, but because you want to train your brain through the reticular activation system to see them. And so if you don't tell your brain, hey, look for this, you're going to miss what's out there. So the story, you've heard me tell it 1,000 times. Mark and I were looking at properties in Aruba. We'd never been there, so we go down. We're walking on the beach one day. Mark has, his Kansas City Chiefs hat on, someone with the Steelers hat on the beach starts, they chirping at each other. And so, we had the little football conversation. Then we said, where are you guys staying? And they're like, oh, we own a home here. Now, if we hadn't told our brain going down there, listen for anything related to real estate, that stays a football conversation.
Right.
But because we had told our brain, hey, pay attention, now we find out top RE/MAX agent on the island. Right?
Yep.
That's what the first stage, I call it contribution, because like, to whom are you making a contribution? And then of course there's matching. Okay, so if you know your ideal client, what adjustments do you need to make for yourself so that if you guys walk in a room together, it's love at first sight? And then how do you make sure your services line up? Sarah Logue did that because she helped me sell and buy a home in very, very short order at a time when the market was shouldering and I didn't have any time and there was a long weekend in there and I was leaving. And we absolutely did it. And I continued to work from home with, I think there was at one point 10 people in my house doing various and sundry different things. But she made it happen because she knew that I was her ideal client and her services lined up. So that's kind of where you start on decisive action. Because if you don't know who you're doing it for, your business is just going to be like Swiss cheese. So the second piece of decisive action is, what role do you play? Which is, stop doing all the work. The analogy I like to give is, you can't climb a mountain with 18 backpacks. You still need the backpacks, but you're going to redistribute them. So there's a methodology, which I know you know, called a DOOR, which is you do a whole week's worth of, very annoyingly, write down everything you do. And then you write your name besides what only you should be doing, like, selling, calling people. That's usually about it. And then you adore the rest, which is automate, delegate, outsource, replace, or eliminate. So now you've opened up. And on average, my clients, when they go through that process, open up between 10 to 15 hours per week. My record so far in terms of how many hours when they calculated what they shouldn't be doing was 48 per week.
Wow.
I know, it's nuts. So now you've cleared the deck and you're like, okay, distractions are gone. The third piece is called growth, which is, please only do what actually works. Not the, I need to try AI. No, you don't. I mean, maybe if that's where you get your clients from, or you use it as a way of streamlining your business, but not as a distraction tool because you're afraid of not making enough money. A lot of people, when they say they keep...
of talking to real people.
Yes.
Oh, of course, yes.
Oh,
People
big time.
working on their website.
Yeah, all the time.
They work on it forever. Yeah, but they never actually pick up the phone. They try to, they have the most beautiful script, and they work on that script, and they role play that
they
script,
don't
and they
use
never
it.
use
They
that
never
script
use that script.
because their phone is going to blow up in their faces. And so the growth piece is narrow it down to two channels, just two channels, and become amazing. So when I do this talk, I love to ask this question, and it's the same everywhere I go. Who here in the audience gets 90% or more of your business from referrals? All hands on deck. Keep your hand up if you have a step-by-step process that if you went to Costa Rica for 6 months and I stepped in, I could get as many referrals as you because I know exactly what to do. All hands down except for like one guy at the back, right? Carl. And so what the growth piece is like, get rid of the distractions, adore it. So you can use the acronym for, it's not that you don't need the channels, but you shouldn't be the one putting your time into
Exactly.
it. No more than 10%, and scale up your efforts and only become really good at the channels that actually deliver results. So you can wait for referrals to come out of the sky like every other realtor in the world, like literally every other realtor in the world, or you can figure out what generates the referrals,
Right.
and you do that. So it's intention, right? So that's sort of the middle piece, and then we get into the performance habits. So the high performance habits are based on studies that Brendan Burchard did. It was a $5 million study with 2 California universities that did, I think, 300,000 surveys, 3,000 interviews, and then asked people, what are the habits that lead to higher income, greater fulfillment, stronger relationships, and joy? So a material, statistically valid difference. And they came up with 6. And I always like to tell people, if you're as nerdy as me, the actual study is on my website. And I read that thing, standard deviations and the whole 9 yards, because I wanted to know it was real, it was true. If I was going to get, because I got certified to be able to teach this stuff, I wanted to make sure it worked. So the first one is called clarity, which isn't just like, can you set a goal for yourself? Everybody sets goals. Very few people actually achieve them. Most people are actually scared of them and don't set them in the first place. But clarity is, do you get behind the meaningfulness of the work you do? So if you wake up every day, today I'm going to do what? Like, what change are you going to bring into the world? And at the end of the day, you do a review and I'm like, did I do it? right? So my whole thing is, I want to make people happy, wealthy, and fulfilled. And wealth can be money, but it can be wealth in the richness of your relationships, in the time, in the calm that there's a whole ways of
There's a
defining
lot of things,
wealth. And so I start my day going, who have I got in my sort of schedule? So I've got you guys, and I've got, other appointments today. How can I bring those three things into their world? And at the end of my day, I challenge myself that I do at least one. At least one of those things. So I like to tell the story of when I blew up my life, because when we talk about shame and holding ourselves back and negative self-talk, as many people know, I grew up in a cult and went into it when I was 8. So I remembered life before cult, Christmas, Easter, anything I wanted to do. And then all of those doors slammed shut and all the don'ts came in. Don't do this, don't do that, right? I had to, don't go to the movies, you don't have a TV. I couldn't play the saxophone because girls don't play saxophone, so I had to play the flute. I had to wear skirts, I had to have my hair long, there was no makeup, there was no jewelry, there was no friends at school, I couldn't play sports. Let's see, what else was fun? Couldn't do that either. So at 32, when I finally blew out of it in spectacular fashion, it took a long time to get rid of that. But at that moment when my whole world erupted. I left the cult, I lost my job, I got a divorce, and I moved in a 3-month period. A realtor helped me find a safe landing spot. I was unemployed because I'd been employed by the church, and they didn't agree with me, so I was on my butt. And I'm like, I had to start over again, and I had no friends. My family did not talk to me. I didn't even know how to go to the movies. I didn't know where I was so afraid of going to the movies because I didn't know how to get a ticket. And then I didn't know how do people find theaters? How does this even work? And so that's sort of what and that was better than staying in the cult. So that tells you something. But, it was a realtor who gave me a place to start again. That's meaningfulness. And if a realtor can't connect with what they actually do, whether it's their mission is to find everyone that safe space. Don't everyone gets their dream home. Please don't. Don't please. Ugh, barf. But it's be specific, right? Sorry. I hear it all the time because I do this exercise all the time, and you're going to do it a lot because it's part of the program.
Yes, I know.
Oh yeah, it's, I just want to get everyone that they're the home of their dreams. No, you don't. Make it meaningful. Make it so powerful. The reason people don't adhere to time blocks is because they don't find meaningfulness in the work that they do. And so if anybody comes in with their own emergency, and here we go with self-worth issues, right? They'll just be like, oh, I'll go help you because then I don't have to make decisions and I don't have to, maybe make a mistake. We're back at square one. So the first one, clarity, is a really, really impactful one. The second one is energy. And that's just be able to have the energy to do all the things you want to do. 40% of CEOs have the physique of a professional athlete. And that says something. So people who are I'm too busy to work out. Yeah, nope.
Don't think so.
No, because it's just movement. So the 4 arenas that you need to sort of do, I call it micro shifting. So tiny little changes, just I can do it level changes is movement. One of my favorite things to say in this, it comes from this book, Outlive. It says you can increase your lifespan by 15 years just by being able to get off the floor without using your hands. So if you just do that daily, blue zones where people live to 100.
Yep.
So Sardinia,
Yep.
they're considered a blue zone in the mountains, not on the coast. The coast is not considered a blue line in Sardinia because the people in the mountains are always going up and down. They're gardening. Japan, the areas of Japan, what do? They sit on the floor to eat, to talk, to just go, and they're always getting up and down. So movement, everyone thinks, I got to go to the gym. No, you don't. Walk, move, garden, right? Yoga, all those kinds of things qualify.
Yep.
Exactly.
Purposeful.
Right? The older you get, the more flexibility is important. If your hips lock up and you don't do something about it, you are much more prone to hip replacement, knee replacement, falls, dementia, everything in your body. And all you have to do is wiggle your hips. Right? So there you go.
Little salsa for everybody.
Hey, that would be a really great idea.
Purposeful movement.
Yep. So nutrition is another one. Obviously, what goes into your mouth feeds your brain. So being careful about that. And then, of course, there's stress, managing your stress levels, and then sleep, prioritizing your sleep, right? Not having a TV in the bedroom. And I know there's a collective groan from humanity.
Or your phone.
Or your phone, anything, just nothing.
Or your phone,
You go
yeah.
into your room and your brain should twig, and this is sleep. That's what I do here. I don't do anything else here but sleep. So when you manage and create micro shifts in all of those areas, like one snack a week, start with that for food. One walk, right? Walk around. I had a woman, she was very physically compromised. We started with walking around her house. Well, then the neighbor got an attack dog, so then it was walking around inside her house. But that's what she could do. It just get a little bit stronger, and so on and so forth. So not overwhelming yourself. You can't climb a ladder if the first rung is 15 feet off the ground.
Yep.
So don't set crazy goals for yourself.
Baby steps.
Exactly. But they're always like, but it's so small. I'm like, that's supposed to be that way. It's because it's small, so you do it quickly. Right? So if you're like a lot of top producers, like if it's not a huge, big challenge and I'm not going to do it. Okay, well, I guess you're not going to do it.
'Cause
Anything.
the big challenges get
Ever.
broken down into small individual steps. And
It's
that's what
that
they have
old
to
saying,
understand.
how do you eat an elephant? And I know
Yeah.
that sounds stupid, but one bite at a time.
But
one
why does it
tiny
sound
thing.
stupid? Why have we told ourselves that something so logical is now
'Cause it's-
considered stupid?
Because it's actually quite simple. And sometimes they're not looking for simple, they're looking for complicated.
Yeah, because
to
they can
give
use
them
their excuses.
permission to not do it. Thank you.
Yep, and scene, right? So what the micro shifting does, so yes, it's against your health and your wellness, but it's teaching your brain
Yes,
small things are good.
they're
Right?
important.
It's like when there's things called stress triggers, or like types of triggers that reduce your stress, and one of the things is a waiting trigger. You're just waiting in line somewhere, and all you do is you look around and you find something that you can appreciate, right? The baristas kind of kibitzing, or people have like a cute dog or whatever. What you're teaching your brain is the world is good. The world is good. Because when we look out in the world today, remember, what we think becomes what is in the world. So if we look at our world, we should not worry about the world. We should worry about our brains. We should be worrying about what we're thinking. And that's my big passionate mission.
Garbage in, garbage out.
Bingo jingo.
Right.
That's exactly it. So the third one of the habits of high performance is courage. And courage is amalgamating the emotion thinking process and putting it on steroids. So there's a process that I started with, inspired by, and then mashed with a couple of other frameworks called mind over mood. And this is where I was saying that you can actually use your mind to generate your mood. So if you're sad, you can actually use your mind and change the way you're thinking, and it will change the way you're feeling. So for instance, I had someone who needed to do open houses. And, she was doing an event. And so she wrote on the top, how do I fill this event? And I'm like, scratch that out, please. So she scratches it out. And I'm like, the room is full. And when you say to yourself, how am I going to fill the room? What are you feeling? Like if I tell you guys
Anxious,
that. Anxious,
stressful.
exactly, anxiety, bam. If I tell you the room is full, now how do you feel?
Great.
Accomplished.
Lowers all the anxieties.
You've lowered the filter.
Yeah.
And so when you look at sort of a situation, so the mind over mood process, there's 10 steps to it, but once you get them, it's real easy to blow through them quick. And I've memorized them. It's amazing. There is nothing in the world I cannot overcome by using this methodology. So what is the situation you're up against? I need to fill an event, right? And then it goes through, what do you feel about it and how intense are those feelings? Scale of 1 to 100 for each feeling. What are the automatic thoughts? Oh my gosh, no one's going to come to my party. And then you challenge it. Is it true? Well, no, right? Well, is there something you can manage that would counter that? Well, yeah, if I just send out the invitations, and then you start thinking, okay, what would I do to make sure the room is full? And then you go through, a couple more iterations, you re-rate your emotions at the end. And usually if you started at a 10, you're down to like a 5 or 6. And then if it's still sort of anxiety inducing, you're like, okay, you got to do it again. And you just go through the same framework. And what that does, removes the filters, makes big emotions small enough. Like you can't grow without fear. You have to have a little fear. You have to be angry to stand up for yourself. You need to feel shame and guilt to know that you can be a better person. But if they're too big, they're crushing. And so mind over mood, the purpose of courage is to do something because it's hard, not despite the fact that it's hard, right? Because if you say, I do it even though it's hard, right? what are you giving yourself excuses? Like permission to like screw it all up and maybe not get there. Go, well, I said it was hard. Well, so, right? Do it because it's hard. You take it on. Like I read this book, The Science of Scaling by Benjamin Hardy and I think his name is Brian Erickson. And it was 3 main things that I got out of this book. Set an impossible goal, $1 million in commissions with an impossible timeline by June. Right?
Yep.
And the third piece is an unshakable faith that you can do this. And if you have those 3 things, right, you can do absolutely anything. And if you bump up against resistance, right, so the negative thoughts or anything like that, you run through this mind over mood, gone. Yeah. Back at it. So I set absolutely ridiculous goals with absolutely ridiculous timelines, but I've got this, and again, it's something you have to work on. It's not that you say, I have an unshakable faith in myself and never have periods of doubt and despair and like, who am I kidding myself? But it's a matter of being able to work through it and get to the other side. So what a lot of people, the myth people think is like, once you build this crazy mindset for yourself, like, I can do anything, that you maintain it. No, you don't.
You don't.
Absolutely not.
No, and it's the same with goals too. I always talk to people about you're at your most vulnerable when you've hit all your goals, because now they're done, and then you kind of sit back a little bit and go, well, you can drift a little bit instead of going and getting another set of goals. So everything's always moving and changing. There's nothing static about any of that. But I don't know if your parents ever said this to you when your kid, go back to bed, go back and get out of bed again.
Yeah.
And come out with a better attitude,
Yeah.
right? But that's how powerful the brain really is. You can look at the same situation one day, nothing changed. The next day, it doesn't seem quite so bad. What changed? You changed. The way you looked at it changed. The way you attack it changes. So I do believe people have all that power to do that.
We do.
Huge.
We have that power. It's a matter of, and that's why I'm so passionate about this
Use it.
process.
Teaching it.
It's here. Pull it out,
out.
right?
Yeah.
You generate
Yeah.
everything you need.
Yeah.
If someone's like, well, I need more confidence, and I'm like, well, where do you think that you go to the grocery store?
Yeah.
Right? Where do you think that's going to come from?
Yeah.
Which is a whole other conversation. So the last 3 habits of high performance. So we've got clarity, we have energy, we have courage. Then of course there's productivity, which isn't just, killer time blocks. It is intentional, focused work that if you're at work, you're at work, so that you can be at home and be at home.
Yes.
You want to go on vacation, don't bring your phone.
Yeah.
Like if I say to you, okay, Lynn, you're going on vacation for a month and you can't bring your computer or your phone. You just can't. It's a rule. They will set fire to themselves on the way to the airport. So even if you try to bring it, they're going to disintegrate. You'll find a way. You'll be like, okay, well, if that's how it's going to be, then what do I need to do to make sure that that's successful?
Yeah.
And you figure it out. And so productivity is taking that mindset all the way to the next level and applying it to work.
Yeah.
If I need to do this, right? If I've got my impossible deadline, I gave one of my clients, I think she sold, let's call it 10 homes in 2025. And I said, 20 by June. And she's like, you're insane. And I'm like, you've told me that for 7 years. But that's okay. Let's go. 20 homes, end of June. What's the one thing you need to do? She's like, well, there's just this. And I'm like, then that's all you do. But what about away, right? So being productive is taking all that decisive action stuff and making it intentional, the way you use your time. If you want to be done, I have 2 clients that stop working at 2:30 every day.
Yeah.
One makes $150 a year, one makes $450 a year. And that's exactly what they want to make. Because it gives them the lifestyle, it
That
gives
they
them the
wanna do.
money, right? The 150 is in a less expensive kind of environment. The other one is in a much more expensive environment. But they're great. But they feel so guilty about leaving at 2:30. And I'm like, that's not a you problem.
But they shouldn't, and a lot of people confuse activity for productivity.
Oh, yeah.
And that's a really bad one. I mean, I got up and I walked the dog, and then I had to fold the laundry, and then I did this, and then I did that. And out of the whole day, they're maybe spending 3% of their time on a real estate.
Busy work.
Busy work, busy work,
Yeah, busy
not
work.
good work. So if, it's, the funny thing is people always say to me, it's funny how when I'm going on vacation, I always get really busy. Yeah, because you're going on vacation, so you clean up all the stuff because you got a deadline to get it cleaned up.
Yep.
That generates stuff.
And you're following up with everything.
Exactly. Surprising, right? So what you
It's-
just said, focus on what you do and that work. When you're at work, you're at work. When you're at home, you're at home. Then you can have your weekends off.
Yeah.
Right?
And you can do whatever you want. You don't have to work evenings. You don't have to work weekends.
No,
You don't
you're in
have-
control of all that.
Exactly. But people are like, well, no, I have to. It's
No,
like,
you don't.
Well, 99, I mean, okay, granted, there's going to be like the 1% of people that are in a situation where they don't have choice, or for whatever mitigating circumstances
Right.
notwithstanding.
Right.
We have choice.
You have choice.
Right? Like when I was in the cult, the 32 years old, I told myself, I don't have a choice here. I can't leave.
You always have a choice. It may not be your favorite idea.
It might
but
not be
there's-
easy.
You
And
make
it might
the
not be
choice.
easy,
Yeah.
but there's always a choice.
Let's face it. We're in a market, at the time of filming this, that, the market's been very interesting. There's a huge amount of inventory. Things are somewhat slow for a lot of people, but it's funny. I had this conversation the other day. Is half the people we talk to are having their best year ever.
Absolutely.
Yep.
The rest are having their worst year ever. And the difference is that the ones that are having a successful year, mindset, they have created great habits, and they're consistent. And when they're consistent in their efforts in performing the money-making tasks, and they're not doing the non-essential stuff,
Right.
they're focused on doing the things that make them money, and they're consistent, and they've developed great habits. They're the ones having the great year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is why
they will always.
Which is why we're talking about this program, is because there's so many agents out there that do not have the right habits,
No.
do not have the right mindset. They're poisoning themselves with negative thoughts, and that consistency comes from not having great habits.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so that's where to me, that's where this program comes in.
Yeah.
It allows people to understand the emotions underlying why they're not doing the things, right? Now we got to make some right decisions.
But clear decisions with
clear-
a clear mind and a clear emotion mind and a clear thinking mind,
Yeah,
right?
that's-
So they
that
both
whole
have to
clarity.
be clear. Yeah.
What clarity on a lot of things, and then start creating those habits.
Yep.
And we've seen results already. I know it's still a fairly young program,
Tis.
but we've seen some good results, and it works.
It really does. And one thing about consistency, a lot of people feel like consistency is solved with productivity solutions and frameworks. It is not. The root of consistency, and when I got the answer and I'm like, no way. So I went researching this thing because it sounded off. But I've read psychology papers, I read books, I listened to podcasts and webinars, and everyone says the same thing. A lack of consistency is rooted in a lack of self-worth. And everyone's like,
Bingo.
but I don't think poorly of myself. And I'm like, okay,
yeah.
name something you're inconsistent with. Calling people. How do you feel about calling people? Well, I don't think they want to listen to me. And scene, right? There we go. So when you're looking at productivity and you think, oh, consistency is my problem, we're just going to rewind back to step one. But you see why that is so important. And the whole idea of emotions and the emotional resilience that we have plays into absolutely everything.
It does.
Right? Including being productive, right? So the last two of the habits are influence, which is getting people to say yes, but by understanding emotions and by silencing someone's inner critic.
Right.
So you do that through storytelling. Just imagine, so this is from Exactly What to Say from Phil M. Jones, who is an actual amazing person. I weaseled my way into a dinner with him. I can't even remember how I did it. Anyway, but totally fangirled for like an hour. So he's actually a really cool guy. But, his book, Exactly What to Say, talked about using the words, just imagine, or how would you feel if?
Yeah.
So if you say just imagine, it's the adult equivalent of once upon a time. And we're like, oh, okay, I want to listen. There is a story. And what turns off? My desire to say no. I can't say no to a story. So, the micro closes, right?
Yeah.
Those, getting to yes
Mini
and getting
yeses.
to no and all those kind of things. If you understand that 95% of decisions are based on emotion,
They are.
how can you understand what someone's emotions are first? And then you can ask the most incredible questions based on the feedback that you
Right.
get. So influence isn't about getting something. Influence is about the art of understanding someone.
Exactly.
and asking damn good questions. Like, as a coach, people say, like, what is the number one skill for a coach? Damn good questions.
Yeah.
Because if I just start talking at you about, oh, blah, 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 just going at you and I've completely missed the mark, you don't want to talk to me. You'll fire me in a heartbeat,
And
which
that's
you
what
should.
most agents do.
I know.
That's what they do.
And they wonder
don't.
why.
And I use an old phrase, and you'll all know where it's from, but I'll just say to somebody, if you could wave your magic wand today, what would your life look like?
Yeah.
What would your house look like? Forget about the money. Just what would you have if you could have anything you wanted? And that gets people to do what you're saying. Think about that process. Think about that. Look at that. It gets their imagination going without any limitations.
Yeah, don't worry about the how. And I
Don't-
go through that when I
yeah.
talk to agents
Don't
going
worry
through
about
this
that part.
program.
Yeah.
We're going to wave a magic wand, and at the end, you're going to get this. But how do I? Don't worry about the how. If you go into the death spiral of how,
You won't get there.
If you don't have a what, the how doesn't matter.
No, it doesn't.
So you have to know something that you're shooting for. So, but that's about as much as I do with goal setting. Like, what do you actually want? I want to, make 500,000. Okay, why is that important?
Why?
Why is it emotionally
Yeah,
important?
why is that important?
And it could be because it provides security. So I have worked with lots of women who are potentially not in the right kind of relationship.
Yes.
But they can't leave. They can't.
They
Because there's no support.
No, I totally
so I'm like,
understand
but
that.
if you get your money from here to here,
Yeah.
then stay or go. At least you have choice. Right? Now you can make a decision. And that is an interesting one because some step up and do, and others are so afraid of making that decision that they
'Cause it means-
bingo. It means it might be
means-
hard.
And they have to follow through when they get to there.
Yep, and so they
maybe
do
really
everything
don't
they
want to,
can.
not to.
to not grow their
And
business.
this is why
Breaks my heart.
this business that we're in, dealing with people, is such an emotional business. And if you don't like emotional messiness,
You shouldn't be in this business.
you shouldn't be in this business.
Absolutely
Thank you for
not.
saying that, finishing my sentence, because I agree with you on
Yeah.
that, 100%.
Yeah, it's too tough. It's too tough. And if you can't enter into and calm someone else's emotional messiness,
Yeah.
if yours is a mess itself.
That's right.
So if you and it's just a matter of, again, if you want to go to therapy for this, fantastic, but it doesn't require that.
No.
It requires just understanding how are we put together. And so the last habit of high performance is what's called necessity, which is the power of commitment. Are you actually going to do it?
Yeah.
And my favorite way of describing this, and Tony Robbins is a big proponent of this one, there's only two tiny little words that you can say that show that you're actually committed. And it's not, I want, I wish, I hope, I'm going to, I'm working on, what's another one? I haven't done the I should thing, I could, I need to. That's a personal favorite. Most commonly, because when you say those things and then you say the thing you want to do, your brain is just like, see, you're committed. No, you're not. Because your brain actually doesn't fire. So the part of your brain that fires for commitment and action and taking steps doesn't fire when you preface what you're going to do with any of those phrases. Tiny little words that actually will do it, and you know what they are. I am. That's it. I am making 500,000. I am selling 20 houses by June. I am not going to work weekends. I'm just not.
Write it down and say it out loud.
And that's just it. And people who say stuff like that out loud, they succeed.
And if you say it to somebody else,
It's
you're more
even more.
likely to succeed.
Yeah, and that's why it's interesting. The 100 Days program
Yeah.
is built like that. So every class, so the 100 Days program is the 12 stages of the mountain method I just went through, and there's the getting started, and then the what to do at the end. But the way each session is designed is like, I've got ADD. I can't pay attention to anything. So I figured, pretty sure no one else can. It's a whole bunch of small videos, 5 to 8 minutes, and then there's worksheets. So there's like a workbook that I provide to people. It's full color, so engages all people's excited senses. So you watch a little bit of the video, you do a little bit of the worksheet, and then you break it.
Yeah.
And you talk about it with someone. Not with me, because if you do the whole, and you guys have seen this, get a group of people, anybody want to share? Zip, crickets.
You get that.
But if you break them into pairs, well, it's real weird if they're just staring at each other, so they talk about it. And I give them time and I bring them back and we do it again, right? So video, worksheet, breakout, video, worksheet, breakout, for the most part. Like sometimes there's
yeah.
a little bit of shake up, but essentially that's what it is. But the psychology behind that is if you're talking about it during the session,
Yeah.
your brain is remembering, it is processing, because in the breakouts, I get people to challenge each other, right? Challenge each other to not be vague, challenge each other to not be wishy-washy. You know, so everyone goes in, because I anchor it with that mindset, go in and challenge people, and they're like, okay, I'm going to find something to say, as opposed to just being, oh, good for you, ooh, golf clapping away, which is, no one gets anything. Yeah, you've seen it, right? You both have seen it. You know, but gets nobody anywhere. So the reason why the program works so well is because, first of all, it's not just a 3-hour class. It is over 100 days, so it's 14 individual sessions, done weekly. We have catch-up plans for if people miss a session, because every participant gets access to all the videos. So if they need to catch up, they're there. They're there for people to watch afterwards. Half of my clients that do it, they watch them after the session. And so there's all that. But I actually, when someone asks me, Rebecca, what are you doing this for? And I'm not doing it to make a jillion dollars. Be nice, be great. And I'm not doing it to see how many clients can I get, which is how most coaches will validate themselves as being good. I make $1 million, or I have this many clients. I'm after scientific validation, because what I have created is an assessment that everyone takes at the beginning. So before you've started, and it gives you a score on every single one of the mountain method stages, right? So from 1 through 12. And it's anywhere from 1 to 6. Then you go through the program. And at the end, you take it again. Because when you go through a program that is 100 days, and when you go through one where it's tiny psychological changes, which you don't notice, but I know you're going to get, you know, because I designed it that way, you don't think you're different. Well, I've always thought this way. Take it again. The average lift in performance so far that I have seen is 33%.
That's good.
In 100 days, right?
That's
and
good.
so some of the biggest lifts are in contribution. So understanding, who am I serving? And then growth. So not doing the stupid stuff that doesn't work. And productivity, top 3. And we're talking like an 80% improvement and a 50 and I think a 46. So that's how like the top 3 go. And of course all the other ones with different variations. So, you know, the beauty of this program is that I don't have to tell you, oh no, Lynn, you should take it. It works. Take my word for it. No, don't take my word for it. Look at the stats, right?
Yeah.
Like the stats are what are going to tell you, and that's what I'm after. I'd actually anticipated a 10% lift. That's what I was projecting, and I've hit 33%. And by me, I mean the people who have gone through the program. And the other beautiful thing about it is I had to get it down so that anyone could take it within reason. It's like it's not free, because if you do free, what happens? Nobody does it.
Well,
nobody shows up.
They do it,
No
but
commitment.
they don't. No commitment. That's what I was
Right.
going to say.
So it
no
needed to be
commitment.
high enough that it registers in the commitment, you know, vibration level, but low enough that it didn't become a barrier. So it's just $350 to take this program for the whole 100 days. $3.50 a day, which is cheaper than a Starbucks coffee.
It is.
I checked. You know, and so what I wanted to be able to do is to get it down to that price. I couldn't be the one delivering it. So I tried, 6 different methodologies to get it down to this one. And, you know, it was inspired by Mr. Buffini and the way that he rolled his program out, because I just did, of course, some research on how do other people with programs that are prolific, you know, prolific, there's the word, everywhere, what is the delivery system? And again, I'm not a realtor, so I've never taken his program. It would be pointless, but I understand people really love it. Right? And it's delivered great. It would deliver so many more great results if so many more agents would just do it.
Well, here's what happens, and I'm sure Eric's experienced the same thing. I've got a small group right now that I'm working with, 6 people. They're all successful already. Some of them have taken it up to 14 times, so they know they have to keep doing things, right? But what generally happens about halfway through, they can give themselves excuses because they've gotten busy. So now they've got busy doing the job part of their work, and they're not working on their business part of their work. And so they kind of
Wander off.
I call it drifting a little bit. But typically I think the largest group I ever did at once was 20 people, and we had a very good upswing in their productivity. The problem is that productivity only lasts for probably another 6 or 9 months after. they do need to repeat these things. It isn't a one shot only.
Yep.
And I'm sure even with yours, because I've been doing this since 2007, and every year I learn something more insightful, better, how to present it, more things like what you're talking about. It just doesn't happen when you do it once. So
Yeah.
your program, all of these programs where they actually engage and do things, they need to keep doing it. It's like a habit in itself.
Yeah, and one of the reasons,
It's
the
not
ways I've
one and
designed this
done.
program is that you can take it and always get something new out of it.
Right.
Because, like, say your first
Exactly.
mountain
Yes.
is I want to increase my income.
Right.
And then, so you take the 100-day program, and let's say you run it once a year. So it takes, 3.5 months to
Right.
roll through. You apply it for the next year. Well, if you're successful, now you make so much money. Now what's your mountain?
Yeah.
Time. Shoot, I don't have enough much. Okay, so I'm going to go through the 100 days program, but my mountain is no longer money. It is now time. Or it's developing a team,
Right.
Or it's creating
Your
some sort of
goals
difference.
and your mountain
Right, exactly.
changes.
But the methodologies work. But your
Right.
emotional resistance to the new problem of time versus money is going to be different. It is not the same.
Yeah.
And so, that's one of the beauties of the way that I've designed this, that anyone at any stage of their development in any industry for any reason whatsoever,
Can start.
other than I just don't want to hold myself back anymore and I'm tired of seeing the image of my potential, but I think there's a great gulf between me and what I know I'm capable of, and I don't want that to be there anymore. As long as you have that kind of a mindset, this program is going to absolutely sing for you. And it's so funny you say like about the midway mark.
Yeah.
I tell all my trainers,
Yeah.
6-7 weeks.
Hold on.
You're gonna get a speed wobble.
Yeah. Yeah. You do.
Yeah.
You just do.
Yeah, and so the more that's why the breakouts and the interaction and the community building in mine
Right.
is so important because
Yeah.
they show up for
Other people. So that's what I always tell them. They're more likely to let themselves down by quitting than they are to let a partner down.
Right.
They won't let that partner down, or they'll
Yeah.
they'll think about that longer and harder than just giving themselves permission
Yeah.
to quit.
And self accountability is also rooted in self worth.
Yeah.
Right? So if you love yourself, you show up for yourself.
Right.
So if you're not showing up for yourself and you're chucking yourself under the bus and giving yourself the excuses, it's time to look inward. And it's not often a very pretty place. Like I
No.
avoided it for years.
Oh, look.
Because what came out of that cult and, the rebuilding of my life
Mm-hmm.
and taking all my feelings and stuffing them down, it created massive problems. I built this program to save myself.
Yeah.
That's what I built this program for, and because it did such a bang-up job, and I'm like, I should teach this to other people.
Yeah.
But no, I
No.
literally I built it to save myself.
And the other thing that, just to kind of wrap that up, is that people, I always thank them when they invest. Because Buffini's not cheap either, it's not inexpensive, but it's worth the money. It really is.
Yeah.
But the very people that need it the most won't invest that money in themselves. They just won't. They don't find the money, and I know they could find it, if they really wanted to invest that in themselves. That's what they're doing. If you invest in your brain, you've done more for yourself than investing in anything else.
Yeah.
Huge.
Huge.
And and just in wrapping up, I think.
Could talk all day.
Yes. We can't. We got to wrap things up here.
We could, come on.
But you said it yourself, is that any industry, et cetera. And what I like about this is it's not real estate specific.
Nope.
It could be done by a student, a housewife, somebody who doesn't have a full 9-to-5 job, somebody with a career. It doesn't matter what you do, who you are, age doesn't matter. This is about becoming a high performer. And I think it's something that's truly needed, as we pointed out earlier, is that there is this mindset that people have that we focus more on the negative. We think we're not, the I'm not enough, whatever enough
Yeah.
syndrome.
Add a word in front
is
of
out
it.
there.
Yep.
Yeah. So we appreciate your time
Yeah.
coming out and talking to us about this. This is something I think everybody should be doing.
Well, so do
regardless.
I.
Yeah.
Massive
But-
bias.
Yes.
But I mean, that's why I designed it, though. I designed it because, and I stress tested this thing for 2 years before I brought it actually into the world. I wanted to make sure that anybody who was feeling small or stuck or just sidelined, whether it's by them or by the world, if they make, because there is that choice that has to be made.
Yeah.
I don't want to be here anymore.
Yeah.
no one can get help. Like, I've had people go through the program because it was very heavily suggested by a broker, like, oh no, you really need to take it, and there's resistance, like, no, just try it out. Doesn't work.
Doesn't work.
Does not work. It also doesn't work if people come in and they rate themselves really high. So I teach my trainers, all right, if you see someone's numbers coming in and they're rocking in at like 5 and 5.5 out of 6, they don't think they have a problem. So they're not looking to improve. They're looking to prove how good they are. But really, they're kidding themselves. The top most successful people in the world know that they are fallible and that there's something they can learn, right?
Yep.
Bill Gates, brilliant guy, spends a week every year just reading books because he wants to learn more. And so I figured that if billionaires use this,
Yeah.
perhaps it's good for the rest of us.
Yeah.
And to bring the billionaire, those strategies that they use into day-to-day lives, I just want people to feel hope. I want them to feel, I can do this. They can do it at their own pace. It is customized because you come in and you decide the size of your mountain. Is it
Yeah.
a hill? Is it just a tiny little rock dip, right? Or is it this, a Mount Everest kind of thing? It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what your mountain is because it still works. Because sometimes people have to do a little hill before they can find the confidence to say, okay, now I can do something a bit bigger. So
Yeah.
I really appreciate you guys having me on today because
So
if
good.
I can spread this message that
Yeah.
there are ways for us, we already know what we need to know, but knowing isn't enough. Right?
That's a great
Knowing
note.
isn't enough. And that's actually the name of
true.
my next book.
Ah,
So like I
that's good.
said, I'm writing it this next week and it'll come out next year. I've already got my publisher lined up and I'm really super excited about it. But yeah, and you guys are, as
Awesome.
always, amazing
Thank
hosts.
you.
And it's
Thank
been
you.
an absolute pleasure. Thank you so much.
And I'm still in that title for this episode, knowing is not enough. So with that, if you're an agent out there and you're saying to yourself, I know what I should do, but I'm not doing it. Or you're saying to yourself, I wish I just didn't get caught up in doing all this stuff. I'm doing too much. Or I don't know what to do to get better, to grow my business. Then perhaps you take a look at this program.
Yeah.
It is a great program. Highly recommend it. If you're interested in learning more about the program, you can reach out to Rebecca or myself. We'd love to be able to help you out, get you into one of our classes. With that, we thank you so much for paying attention and being with us this week. And we look forward to seeing you the next time on the Business of Real Estate podcast with Lynn Hoffmann and Eric
Thank
Johnson.
you. Thanks, Eric.